This may surprise you to hear, but I sometimes make YouTube videos about anime. Some of those videos require me to search for anime openings and clips to edit with, so imagine my surprise when instead of those yummy, delectable montages I so desperately crave, I'm met with a deluge of letters and numbers. I know I'm not the first person to get mad about this, but honestly I thought this was a trend from the 2010s that had mostly died out a few years ago, especially since we're now in an era where all the cool kids are making 3D animated movies with limited frame rates, and general audiences are actually realizing that the phrase "less is more" isn't just a river in Egypt. Well, apparently not, because I have had to stumble through pages of these things to get to actual official uploads, and through overwhelming annoyance while editing, this video must be born. I truly do not understand why people keep making these and why other people keep watching. So let me do my best to make this not just a rant about how teenagers on the internet are causing the downfall of humanity, but also an opportunity to explore what actually makes animation good and an honest attempt to understand why people just will not stop. I'd imagine there isn't much overlap with my audience, but if somehow you sitting right there are one of these deviants or their enablers, then this video is for you. Surprise intervention!
Your addiction has affected us in the following ways. You are annoying!
I am literally begging you to stop. But also, I really do want to understand, so if I miss something, please let me know in the comments. First of all, and most obviously, it just doesn't work that well. Like I discovered when I tried using AI and traditional frame interpolation methods to generate in-betweens for my own animation, these algorithms can mostly handle the most slow and straightforward motion, but as soon as they have to do anything more complicated than nudge a line 2mm to the left, crazy artifacts start to appear and it just looks horrible. You may not notice it if you're really not looking very closely, but what exactly is the point of feeling like you're watching something in 60 FPS, but actually 2/3 or more of the frames are just jumbled filler that your brain is skipping over anyway? I feel like I'm being gaslit, gatekept, and girl-bossed by these comments about how high quality these are, because did you look at it? I think there's this implicit assumption that, like filming a real object, there is some underlying truth that's only partially captured by the given frames. But it's not like it's uncovering missing information, because there is no missing information. It's just making a guess at filling in the midpoint. You know what machine already does that? Your brain, and it does a way better job of it. Well, I guess the exception to this would be this JoJo opening, which is animated in 3D, meaning that there actually is an underlying truth, and they could render these characters with any number of frames and chose for them to be animated on 2s. But you've decided that you know better. Anyway, this is nothing groundbreaking, and I don't want to go too hard on these people because many of them are probably kids. Moving on. More importantly, the timing of the frames is a conscious creative choice. There is no correct number of frames, and to assume that smoother and more is always better is fundamentally missing the point. Even in live action, the general rule of thumb is either 24 or 30 frames per second and a 180-degree shutter. Back in the day, most movie camera shutters were a spinning disc with a section cut out. It's a whole thing, let's not get too deep into it, but basically that means that each frame is exposed to light for about half the time that it'll be projected. If you break those rules, your footage will look weird. Maybe that's a mistake, or maybe you're Steven Spielberg making the most memorable scene in Saving Private Ryan, to bust out the well-worn stock example, where they used a faster shutter speed to reduce the motion blur and make everything look choppy and hard to follow, and combined that in certain moments with the much less often discussed choice to limit the frames to just 12 per second instead of 24, which further emphasizes the effect. Back to animation. This is Yoshinori Kaneda, one of the most influential Japanese animators of all time. When he started working in the 70s, it was standard for almost everything to be animated on 3s. But, as Ryusuke Hikawa explains in this documentary on Kaneda's life, he refused to let that rule restrict him, and would use frame spacing and timing to express himself. By modulating the number of frames within a single cut, he could create smooth motion one moment, then snap into an exaggerated pose and hold it for emphasis.
さらに極端なパースやポーズと組み合わせることでカナダさんにしか描けない世界が生み出されるのです。
This technique is so common today, it's hardly even worth pointing out. Take this cut from the first Dandadan opening, for example. It's clearly been completely jumbled and bungled, but even if the interpolation miraculously created perfectly smooth and accurate motion, it would still have destroyed the feeling of the cut, which is intended to be snappy and stylized. Okay, blah blah blah, feeling of the motion, artist's intention, whatever you say. I just want crisp 4K and buttery smooth motion. Well then how about the fact that interpolation makes things look way more jerky and stilted by filling in those gaps? Look at these two versions of the same cut and tell me which one looks smoother. Here, I'll slow it down in case you're not watching this video in 60 FPS. To me, this doesn't look smooth at all, more like ratcheting along a series of pegs. If I draw a series of dots that each represent a frame, your mind can naturally fill in the arc that I'm trying to communicate. But if I connect each dot with a straight line, there's way more information here, but it's not the right information, and it only makes these hard corners more pronounced, not less, and takes away your brain's ability to interpret. Much of this script was originally part of the video I did on AI in-betweening before being cut for time, because essentially the software is doing the same job of an in-between animator, but doing in-betweens in between the in-betweens. I go into more detail in that video, but it's easy to think of in-between animation as an almost robotic task, finding the midpoint between two drawings and tracing it. And certainly there's less creative input than with key animation, but there's way more to it than that. And if you handed off these frames and got these in-betweens back, then that animator did a bad job. This does happen sometimes, and the result is remarkably similar, minus all the weird ghosting. To make matters worse, I don't know what software these people are using, but some of them seem to either want to ease out and ease in as if these really were keyframes marking the start and end of a motion, rather than placing the generated frames equidistant from each other, or just have absolutely no clue what to do with such a huge jump between frames and just settle for smudging and blurring a little before and after each keyframe, just to ruin the illusion as much as possible without actually adding anything at all. Okay, so if interpolating everything up to 60 FPS is so bad, then why do people keep doing it and keep watching it? I have a couple theories, and I'll start with the most innocent. It's fun to play with cool gadgets and neat tech. Especially now that so-called AI tools have come along that can do the same thing about 15% better, but with 65% more mystical, magical allure.
This is what technology is for.
Thank God.
When I was making that other video, I tested a whole bunch of tools, and while many of them were plagued by the aggravating microtransaction-based monetization that seems to have become the standard for AI products, simple, locally run open source ones like flow frames are actually pretty fun to tinker with. It's like gambling. You feed your footage in one end and wait to see what comes out the other. Will it be good? Will it be bad? The second one. Almost always the second one. But you never know, and there's only one way to find out. And while I was researching this stuff, I discovered that there's a whole little mini subculture that's developed around it, complete with its own vernacular. The most well-known frame interpolation software is Twixtor, an After Effects plugin that's been around since the early 2000s. At first, I didn't understand what these people were talking about in their Reddit threads and YouTube tutorials, like how to flow frames Twixtor on mobile. That's just the word soup that comes out of my mouth when I sit up and start sleep talking in the middle of the night, until you realize that the word Twixtor has morphed not only into a generalized verb in the classic Google style, but also a noun that refers to the effects of both generating extra frames and speed ramping the resulting clip. As in, she Twixtor on my Twixtor till I flow frames. Since releasing that video, I have constantly received a steady stream of emails from AI companies who lazily scrape the internet for anything with AI as a keyword and blast out sponsorship emails without checking what it is that you actually said about them, or even what the rest of the words in the title were. So I figured I'd use lemons as training data to generate lemonade by reading out those emails and looking at the insane products that they want me to advertise in this video, which I just uploaded to Patreon. They get pretty wild. From the founders of Dropbox, Twitch, and the Chainsmokers? What? Whoa. Unrestricted chat without NSFW filter. Okay, good. They've hit it 4 times now. Oh, NSFW real-time image generation feature. 5th time's the charm, as I always say. So if you want to support the channel and also get some cool perks and access to occasional exclusive videos like this one, go have a gander. The link's in the description. For the part of the viewers, the charitable explanation would just be that the underlying animation is really good and there's only so much digital perversion can do to actually ruin it. It feels different and interesting to watch a video in a higher frame rate, and if you don't look too closely, you might not notice the glaring errors and are mainly just impressed by the original version underneath. I don't know if people are making money off this stuff, and it certainly seems like they shouldn't, but I would bet that at least some are. But in the most egregious cases, not only is the footage itself ruined by interpolation, but so too is the pacing because it's been re-edited to avoid copyright claims. Like this fight scene from Demon Slayer, which I'm realizing I sort of subconsciously started focusing on because it seems to be the most 60 FPS anime of all time. Oh. Guess the re-editing didn't really work then. This is not a joke. This video actually just got taken down between when I wrote the script and when I tried to download it to edit with. Well, I'll find another example and put it on the screen, but trust me, it was completely mangled and all the tension was ruined.
What's happening?
Another thought, which I've heard other people point out, is that it's a mindset that comes from video games. In most games, at least the ones that require fast reaction time, more frames is basically always better. Anything past 120 FPS is debatable whether it's perceptible, but the difference from 60 to 120 is very noticeable, and 30 or 24 will look like a slideshow, at least if you have anything to compare it to. I think this, combined with the general caveman instinct that more thing is better than less thing, get most of the way towards explaining the phenomenon, but not all the way. Because why isn't YouTube also filled with thousands of 60 FPS interpolated clips of live-action movies? The software clearly works a lot better on that footage, where the jump from one frame to the next isn't nearly as large, and there are some, mostly superhero movies, Transformers, and stuff like Gemini Man, which was actually shot and projected in high frame rate.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
But even those that do exist tend to not get nearly as many views and are of a decidedly different flavor. More of an, I have bought a very large and expensive TV and need a reason to justify this purchase type beat than anything else, complete with the obnoxious gold TV marketing badges and the thumbnails. There's definitely more of a focus on 4K, 8K, HDR, Dolby Atmos, smell-o-vision, NASA landing speed analyzer.
Right?
And the 60 FPS part is just another number you can ram in there. I think there's definitely an element here that comes from the idea of prestige in animation specifically. You hear a lot about the god-tier animation in some show like Demon Slayer, but what actually makes the animation good? Could it be an endless list of individual decisions in dozens of different areas, such as the frame spacing and timing stuff I brought up earlier, just like every other art form, and in Ufotable's case, striking colorful designs, flashy effects and choreography, and really slick compositing? Nah. That's complicated and dumb and gay. It must just be the number of frames. Hey, so if we make there be even more frames, 60 is a higher number than 24, so that must mean the animation will be even more better. Numbers are great, don't get me wrong. 1, 2, -6, you know, all the numbers, really groovy stuff. 58,008? A classic. But can we not reduce the value of a piece of art down to a number where higher equals better quality and voluntarily turn ourselves all into TV salesmen? In summation, for the love of God, please stop uploading these, I'm begging you. I am filled with 1,000 needles, and every time you upload one of these, you pierce me with one more. Go play Cookie Clicker instead. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my patrons who have the highest number of teeth of anyone I've ever met, and therefore are extremely good people. Smackintosh, Scorpiante, Katie L, Serialile, Leia Pico, Nutaf, Patrick Davison, Arborix, Jun, Dr. Yola McSwag, Grav G, Squidgoo, Joe, Fuggle Nugget, Annie, Sammy Z, Nozomi Corgi, and Machu Stepek, as well as all the other names you're seeing on the screen right now. See you next time.